So there's another box of screws obviously over there, and you have 3 sizes and about 3,200 screws, something like that. So you're not going to run out. So these are 35 millimeter screws, and you have about 1,000 of those. So 35 millimeter. Let's see, 25 millimeter, so 1 inch. 25 millimeter and 50 millimeter. I think that one there is that's a 25 millimeter over there. So these are 2-inch screws. Now the reason you have different size screws is because normally in the kit you don't get that, but you went with 16 millimeter polycarbonate, and when you're doing your ridge, this will help you get through. And we'll show that to you when we get to that point. So for framing, what's ideal framing? It's just a lot easier if you use the 1 inch. And I think you have something like 1,300 1-inch screws. So the bulk of your screws are going to go into framing. You can use the 35 millimeters framing; it works just fine. But the 25 millimeters just it'll make sense intuitively. If you try to use the 50 millimeter framing, you're going to say, "Well, hey, what the heck? I can't do it."
These are the 25 here.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, you look on the side. It'll tell you on the side. The other side. I should say 25. Yeah, 25 right there. Yep.
That's
So
framing.
yep.
All right.
So these 2 are framing, and you should have 25 millimeter there. So it's about I can't remember, 1,700 is what it is, about 1,800 framing screws.
Holy cow, it sounds like a lot of work already.
Oh yeah. It goes faster than you think. Honestly, you get the frame up pretty quick. So you have 14 of these. These are specially designed for this angle. And the original prototype that I think you looked at, we simply bent those. This just makes it a lot cleaner because you can go in and have a really nice snug fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you go in, and sometimes you gotta push it in, and then you just take a self-leveling or a self-drilling screw and just go through. So I'll show you how that's done, but got to put some L brackets on first. So you have 2 different sizes. I think you only need 48 of these. I think you have 50 there. I threw in a couple extra just so you have some flexibility. And those are for the longitudinal direction of your greenhouse. So you're going to have one about 21 inches. Put it wherever you want. The reason I say 21 inches up from the bottom is if you ever want to do grow beds, you have the back support already in place. So it's kind of helpful. So you have one there, one there, one there, and one there. It's 12 times 4, which is 48. That's where I get the 48 from. But you have 2 extras, so it all comes out. These guys are end walls. And I'll show you that on your uprights. And what you'll see is they're a little shorter. So that's why you want to keep those separated. And you only need 6 of these. It's not a lot, but they're pre-cut, makes it a little easier. Everything's pre-cut except your end wall verticals. And the reason for that is, and I'll show it to you, it has to do with this member over here, where you put it. Let me show you. So sometimes, if there's some variability on where this is placed, and we'll build one or two, we'll get these done. But if you're like, if you're right snug, it's 80 inches. But if you're a quarter off, it's too short. So that's why we don't cut the verticals. What we give you are these. You have 6 of these. And it's more than enough, more than you need, and you can cut that to size. It's about 80 inches, but it might be 79 3/4, whatever. You can use a Sawzall with a metal blade. I personally like a composite blade. You can pick up from Harbor Freight one of those big 14-inch wheels saws for like $100. It's cheap, so it's not a showstopper. We pull out the hardware now and get started on that. So there's 190 linear feet of this trim, and so 10 sticks at 19 feet. And this goes along your openings that you cut. But I recommend putting a couple strips of this. There's 164 feet
Okay.
roll. So it's not normally part of the kit. I'll just give that to you. But
Thank
that
you.
way you can seal things up, put that up, and there's no chance that you're going to have moisture migration into your channels.
Okay.
Just it's going to work out better that way. These latches, I really like these latches. The reason I like them, they come from Harbor Freight. And, you know, I've made the mistake in the past. You kind of fly blind when you're ordering off of Amazon. And I go order a bunch of latches. I get them for a greenhouse job, and I don't like these. These I like, so I just go in, buy a few hundred at a time from Harbor Freight and give them to you, so you don't have to guess. And they really work well. You don't always need this latch. Like if you're pulling a door shut from the inside, let's just have that bolt rest right on the side.
Oh,
of your
gotcha.
frame.
Yeah.
So you don't have to kill yourself trying to make it all look good. The other thing, when you're building your frame, instead of using some of these other accessories, you can use this as a mending plate and actually secure the pieces together with that. And it just comes out to be simpler. And you'll see what I mean when you go to do it. It'll make sense. So you got some handles. There's 4 handles. I mentioned before, as far as hinges, let me show you the other option. They're the same. You can have whatever you want. So if you want to use these, great. They're harder to use. I actually like these, and they actually work just fine. They're just standard door hinges.
Yeah, stick with those.
Yeah,
They're easier.
so they're easier. These look better, I think, but they're harder to use. So I'm giving you that as
Guess
an
it's yours.
option. Yeah, I would
say we use-
Okay.
recommend. Okay, these are mending plates. There's 60 mending plates. Let me show you what these look like. And we'll actually use them so you can see. So we have these specially made up, and because I don't think you normally use them, but I find these mending plates so convenient, because what you'll do if you're like doing a joint or something, building like your sidewall,
Okay.
it works out so nice. So there's 60 of these. It's more than you're going to need, but I personally really like the mending plates. You have 150 of these. These are L brackets. These are the smaller ones. And what you would do is like you'd put them, so let's say you wanted to do something like that, okay?
All right.
So it goes there. It's very convenient. It looks good. You have 150 of those. And you also have 150 of these.
Okay.
Now these are the wider ones. These are a standard for greenhouse construction. These are ones that I think we exclusively use, but what you'd use for these is, you know, you'd go like that underneath, and you could screw up, screw down, and the problem I don't like about them is if you're not really precise moving up, this can stick out a little bit.
Okay.
So what I would do, and I do this, you know, all the time when I make a mistake, if I'm up a little bit, I'll just bend those over. And then you don't have to worry about running into it and hurting yourself when you're in the soil. So that's what those things are for.
Are those just an option on how we want to secure those?
You have enough hardware,
Okay.
you'll have lots, and I mean lots left over.
Okay.
150 of these, 150 of those,
Alright.
and 60 of those. So if you don't like one of the ways, do something
Right,
else.
okay,
You got the
alright.
material to do it. I think that's all in terms of the accessories there. Let me show you the other bag. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You're going with the 16 millimeter panels per request. Normally it's 8 millimeter, and that's why you need to use the longer 2-inch screws.
Okay. When we're securing that, okay.
Yep, the panels, as well as the ridge, and I'll explain that too. So you can use 35 millimeter or 50 millimeter for securing your panels. But sometimes if you have like a little gap or something, it's really handy to use the 50 millimeter. We don't normally include those in this kit.
Oh, okay.
We stick with the 35s, but in your case, I thought, you know, we throw them in just because I think what you're doing, it's a little bit different. Now there's 1,000 of these.
Okay.
You have 6 panels. You only need 5.
Okay.
You're not going to use more than 50 of these per panel.
Okay.
So you'll have lots left
Okay.
and lots of screws, and you can go along and make that thing a tank.
Okay.
Just put in
Right.
screws everywhere if you
Okay.
want. But how you'll do that is you have to use a washer.
Okay.
If you don't use a washer in this kind of wind, your panels will be gone by the end of
Okay.
the summer.
Okay.
And you watch YouTube videos, don't always believe that, because a lot of times they'll use a standard tin metal screws, and that's just flat out wrong.
Okay.
It voids the warranty. So
Okay.
you do have to use that. You have so much extra, you're
Okay.
not going to run out. Won't
So
be a
washer
problem.
on
Yep.
every one for the
I'm
panel.
going to leave that
okay?
right in there.
Okay.
And keep in mind, I'll reiterate this, you don't have to use 50 or 40
Right.
panels. 35 will work fine.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is a little bit different than what you might be used to. So this is a premium neutral caulking.
Okay.
It says neutral right there, so
Okay.
it's a lot different than what you're going to get at Home Depot.
Okay.
Normally these bottles, they'll go for quite a bit more. So we have 9 here for you, and you probably won't use it all, but where you would use this is like on your ridge. When you do your ridge, and we'll get to that point, I'll show you how that works. You probably want to put a bead under there.
Okay.
And then on that 190 linear feet of that U channel, the trim that makes it look good,
Right.
around your doors, eaves, things like that, you probably want to put a bead under there just to glue it into place.
Okay.
And especially, you have a gable profile. When you have snow up there, it'll fall down,
Right.
and if you don't have that trim along your eave,
Okay.
along,
Right.
yeah, it'll actually pull it off
Okay.
in the
Okay.
snow. So that's why you want to do that.
Okay.
So you cut that off
Okay.
with the razor blade and screw that on. That's
Okay.
how you do that.
Perfect.
Caulking gun.
So now I think we're ready actually to build
Ready to
one.
do-
Yep. So you'll see this goes on pretty quick. One thing to do, when you do this, don't overextend it past the edge. In
Okay.
fact, it's almost better if you recess a little
Okay.
bit like that. You can either
Okay.
make it flush or just slightly recess.
Okay.
Okay.
If you go over, it creates a gap, and those
Okay.
gaps tend to build up. So it actually goes on pretty quick,
Okay.
and just make it straight like that. Perfect.
Okay.
So it's about 2 millimeter wall thickness. It's a pretty thick material. It's a 14 gauge. So it's a good quality galvanized steel for this application. Now, like I mentioned before, you want to center that or have it one side that sticks out, not the other, because you're putting your polycarbonate on one side.
Okay.
You want to make sure that's flush,
Okay.
so it doesn't cut into the polycarbonate,
Okay.
because you don't want to be crazy going over.
Okay.
Like I said, if you go over, take a hammer and just knock
Okay.
that over so there's not a sharp point there.
Okay.
And I'll make sure they're the same. This one sticks out, this one's flush on this side. So I
Okay.
got to make sure that's flush on this side.
So you can make just the flush on the same
Yep,
side.
flush on the same side, because that's where your polycarbonate's
Yep,
going to go.
okay. Thanks, here.
I'm going to make sure that the flush side is on the outside.
Okay.
So that flush side is on the outside. The part that's going to protrude in, if there is any protrusion, needs to go on the inside.
Okay.
Here's the tape measure. Oh, you got one.
Yeah, I just hit it. So bottom, you do what you want. You don't have to be, just be consistent. I'm going to go 21 just because it's convenient.
Okay.
And you don't have to be exact on
Here, do this.
21. Well, it isn't that ability for the future. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in now. It's going to go right here. So, and I like to pre-drill this just so it's easier when it comes time to put in. You'll notice, oops, got to do the other way here. So just make sure it's all flush on the outside. And I'm going to go up high, so this thing here is right next to the seam, but not too high so it overlaps it. So right there is about perfect. And then we'll just go through, I'll mark it here, make sure we're perfect. Make sure that's tight, and then go in. We'll just put that in. Hey, thanks, Glenn, appreciate it. So we'll just do that here.
So how How big is this thing? 10 by 10. 200 square feet.
The International Building Code gives you 120 square feet, but for your residential application, unless your municipality specifically adopts 120 square feet, you're 200 square feet based on the International Residential Code.
Tucker.
But
Whoa.
if this comes out to be at 205 square feet, the likelihood that an inspector is going to be that precise is like, yeah, I mean,
Live.
so rather than, I think we're going to do this a little bit differently. Let's build some, let's do it in pieces.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to put that in there. Extra tight. That'll work. So once again, hammer, just smooth that inside edge out. You're not going to touch that corner, but now what the screws do, they serve two purposes. One, they hold this down, but at this point, these corners, the screws are holding this down. So you don't want to break those screws. If you break them, just relocate your bracket,
Okay.
or just drill through like here,
Okay.
because that gives you your resistance to uplift. Okay, perfect, we're done. All right. The big angle goes down to the base, like this. That's how you can remember that. If you use this, it just makes perfect sense. It's way too steep.
Okay.
So big angle,
Big angle.
down there,
Okay.
short angle at the top.
Okay.
I'm going to scoop this over here. I'm going to put this in, Clint. Sorry to pester you here. I just want to make sure it looks perfect when we do this. Perfect, just like that. Uh-oh. Oh. Now you can reuse the screws about 3-4 times. After that,
Okay.
you'll find you have to drill in some cases and repeatedly use it. After that, it kind of loses its cutting edge. So what I did is I ordered 38 millimeter wide. These are 40 millimeter wide.
Right.
They sent like 32 millimeter wide. So can't really do much about that one now. No,
And then we have another one that's the same that runs there.
so I've already pre-drilled this, so I just need to drill it. And get a couple on this side. So this is the end wall,
Okay.
and all the other ones will be a little. I think they'll just kind of go together pretty quick. Ooh, that's a nice one. Now, what do you do? Oh yeah, I gotta put one more in. So there's that one now.
So we need one for there.
Yeah, let's go ahead and build this truss in its entirety. This one is going to go here.
All right.
So let me just get a L bracket in there really quick, and we'll be good to go. Stick right by you. Well, I like that. Well, it's pretty dang good.
Good. So it works for you. It didn't work for me.
I think my tool is just worn out. Now I'm going to put another one right up here. The reason I'm doing it is because there's going to be some horizontal tension on there. Let me show you how this ridge cap works. Okay, you have a total of seven 2-meter minimum lengths, except one of them's cut in half. And you don't need all that. You only need about 3.5, not even that much. But you get double because it gives you some flexibility. I want to show you what that is. If you look, so this is a really heavy gauge here. So it's crazy thick. This is more like a 24 gauge. So it's really thin. And I personally like putting the thinner gauge on top for the vent. It's easier. This though, you really kind of almost need two, top and bottom, to make an I-beam type thing. I'll explain that. So how do you connect those two pieces at the top? Well, there's a couple ways. The easiest way is if you just slice like a 2-inch piece, and then use that underneath there. Yep, it makes it easy. But if you want to go for looks, another way is to do all 3.5. So it's 3.5 times 2, so it's 7 meter. So what is that? 7 times 3 is 21 plus 10%, so about 23 feet long. You only need about 20 and a half. So what you can do is, if you want to do it this way, you can actually put them together like this, and just it look from the inside. Picture yourself inside looking up.
Flush both
Yeah,
sides.
well, it's not quite flush, but
It's not,
yep.
is it?
But you really aren't going to notice it. It ends up looking really good, and you can always position
So
these
there's
if you want
actually
them
a
flush.
piece that goes in the top too.
No, there's not.
There's not.
No insert. You don't have an insert for the top. You don't need one there. So yeah, you can either just cut off a 2-inch piece and screw that in, and then the ridge is on top, and that gives you like an I-beam. It's really crazy strong if you do that. But if you want to go for appearance, you have enough to do it this way, where you just make the whole thing look good on the inside. You look up and say, wow, no gap, no nothing. So that's your option.
What do you think, Uncle Clint? Whatever.
It don't matter.
If you did want to start, what I find initially when you're building your first couple trusses, because you don't really have any place to put this up, is just to cut a piece initially, and then you'll take it off later if you want to replace it. So
Okay.
probably would want to cut this now so we could do this, get a couple pieces cut right over here.
I use up the top metal bar.
About there is good enough for me.
Might need to shorten it a little so it fits inside.
Well, yeah, it's just going to be a temporary one. So there we go. Ridge looks good. Yeah. I need to put a couple screws in there. So if you wanted to do something like that, you can replace it, push it up, make it perfect. If you want to go with that trim look, you know, that would work great too. So whatever you decide on. But point is, I think we have one truss ready. So
Okay.
But this is the back, right?
this is be the back or the
we
front,
got-
whatever you want.
Well, come look at.
We want to, because we don't have
Okay.
the back prepped with that railroad tie.
Yeah, make it the front. Let's put it in the
Okay.
front. Not gonna be a problem. Yeah, before I move.
Problem is if you put them in the corners like this one hits this one and then it sticks out.
Yeah. And they don't have to.
Anymore.
Yeah. And they can, like I said, they can stick out a little bit. You're not gonna kill the polycarbonate. Very good there. We're ready to set that. I tell you, you're the best, man. You need to be in Hollywood. Tell you what, Clint, we're gonna set this in place. You guys can fasten a couple. It's gonna want to lean forward a little bit because of the off-centeredness. So
But we can also
pull this over a little bit.
put a brace on it real easy.
Okay, there we go. That should be perfect.
Grab that.
Alrighty, now I'm gonna come in here and get these in, and that should hold it down pretty good. What happens here? And honestly, on this side, that's all you really need. But I think you have enough to do another one. I think.
Right, in the
I think.
middle.
Yep. Because I think I gave you
And then
6.
that's gonna be your header height.
Yep. So what you'll do is you'll frame in your
Right,
door. It
yep.
should be about 80 inches, but there's a little bit of variability, which is why I say,
So we want a rough opening of 80 inches.
yep, rough
And
opening.
that is from
It's about
here
80. Yep, from the top.
From the top to
Yep,
the top.
right up to the top. And it should be about plus or minus a quarter or so.
Real close.
Yep.
Right on 80.
Yep. So, and maybe I should just have them pre-cut. It'd be a lot easier, but I ran into problems doing that before. So, put your door there, and then when you frame in a door, it's easy. This is how you do it. Take off a 1/4 inch.
Right.
So instead of 80, it's going to be 79 and a
Right.
quarter. Instead of whatever that is,
It's gonna be a
yep, quarter short.
Right.
And then what you
Quarter
do,
overall or
quarter overall.
Right.
Quarter
eighths per
overall, yep.
side.
and then
Just
you
like
have,
a regular door.
yep, you have the standard, what do you call those? Hinges, the standard
Right.
hinges, 1, 2, 3. And I'd highly recommend you swing inside,
Okay.
because I guarantee the snowstorm you'll be really sad when you can't swing
open the
inside.
door.
Okay,
Yep.
or when you have ice buildups. back
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So, so put your trusses, for instance, if it's going to be, you know, like a left-hand door, put your hinges on the side.
Yep.
Okay, and then before you put your polycarbonate, and then your latch, I showed you
Yep.
guys the
Uh-huh.
latches. Before you put polycarbonate on, take some of those mending plates, those rectangular square pieces with the 2 holes, the flat ones. Put one like there and there so it holds it. And then when you're on this side putting your polycarbonate on and you screw it in, it's not going to go all over the place.
Okay.
And then just take those off when you're done.
Okay.
And then the other thing, that 1/4 inch gap I told you about. So that J channel we showed you, what you'll do is you'll put the J channel in. It's just a standard J channel if you've ever done like siding.
Miles
So,
of it.
yep, the short,
This is
yeah.
much I
Yeah,
haven't done.
he understands your lingo. I'm like, yeah, Jay Chandler, you
Whatever.
bet, Jay.
I agree.
Got it. Yeah, what he
So
says.
the short side is going to be on the outside, the long side's on the inside. When you put your screws with those washers that I showed you,
Yeah.
get the long side on the back side of the polycarbonate. Does that make sense at all?
Right.
Yeah, it's standard
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to emphasize is when you have that 1/4 inch gap, you can move that J channel up and down to close it
so
up.
that it seals
Yep.
against the outside.
Yep. So if
or
you
the
need,
inside.
for whatever reason to cut the polycarbonate shorter, it's not a big deal because you can move the J channel and make up for the gap. So
So your J channel's gonna sit on here like this is your short side out here. Your polycarbonate goes in it.
yep.
And
Well, no,
19
polycarbonate first. Polycarbonate the whole thing first.
And then your J channel
and-
slides over the
Yep,
top.
and then cut and then cut your holes out. So you frame everything up first, polycarbonate everything up first, take your Sawzall and cut in the gap around your door, and that way you could use the door as the guide. 1,000 times easier. Yep. And then put the J-channel in there. And you'll have to take off some of the screws that you have and then put them back in when the J-channel's in place.
So basically then what happens is your J-channel can come up a little high
Yep.
here and butt against it. But
I-
well, it actually, it wouldn't, it'd have to be flush with the swing
Yeah,
in.
you'll want J-channel up here and on the door. So you'll want it on both sides of your
sides.
opening, and if you
So
have
this one can seal against the J-channel.
no, the J-channel you won't
It's
even.
gonna be on the
It's
outside.
purely
It's
aesthetics.
right.
But what you will do is if you adjust, so when you build a door, use the mending plates on the corners.
Right.
If you just lift them up like 3/8 or something, that will hit your frame.
Right.
Yeah,
But
so-
my thing is, what about the gap?
Well,
on the top of your door?
let me
and
show you.
everything?
Let me show you. I can show you that really quick and it'll make perfect sense. So let's just pretend that this is the
Table
door.
and that's your door.
Yep. Let's say that I'm on the inside of my greenhouse looking out.
Right.
Okay, and the door opens up this way. What I'll do, and the polycarbonate's on the outside, so I will have this over the top, and over the top
Right.
of the frame, and over the door on top. And then what you can do is you can suck this in a little bit to seal it.
So it's,
Yep.
it's just gonna have a small gap.
Yep, just
no
a
matter
itty
what.
bitty gap. And then what you can do, I'll set those down here. And then what you can do, as far as your doorstop goes, this makes it pretty easy. Let's just grab a piece of metal here.
That's
Oh, and I brought a couple of those over there to show you. I don't want to get confused, but so yeah. So yeah, those are about 5 inches or something shorter.
like 36 and 7/8.
So what you can do is just go something like that,
Right.
and you can put some gussets here or whatever, and then your screws go through. And what you can do though, if you're sly about it on your door, is if you raise that up a little bit,
Right.
then that acts as your door catch.
Right.
And what you,
That's-
what you
This
want
is
to,
the inside of our deal.
yeah, exactly. Now what you can do once the
That's
poly,
the door stop.
yep, once the polycarbonate's on, I wouldn't do it before. I mean, you can. 16 millimeters, not a big deal, but once the polycarbonate is on, you can actually slide this down there like that, and then drill through the polycarbonate and through this,
Right.
and then it's basically an I-beam, and the door is rock solid. And on your main door, I would also recommend putting a diagonal on, and that way it's really rigid. So on this, what you do, for instance, let's say you have a, I don't know, a vent or something. You could actually do it like this, where you're using this as your mending plate to build it. So it basically is your gusset for your frame for like a vent or something. Wherever you want to put those, it'd look like that. And then if I'm like opening out inward, and this is on the outside, let's say, it'll make sense. I can't really
Right,
show
yeah,
it, but
it's
you don't even need this here for depending on where you put it.
Right.
You don't need the latch. You just need this bolt in a lot of cases. It'll make sense when you do it. And then you could even use that as the stop too. I've done that before.
Those are your hinges.
Yeah, you only need 2 hinges for your vent. There's 3 for the door. You have an extra
Okay.
one for whatever you need.
All right.
But you can, there's enough cooling with the 16 millimeter that you're not gonna like get crazy hot. You only really need the door and the vent. If you want to put in a second vent in plus the door, just go buy another hinge.
Okay,
You have so much material that you'll have more than enough to do what you need.
perfect.
I could have brought 100 of those.
Yeah, can I explain that really quick too?
Sure.
When you mount it, what you'll find is on the sides, you'll probably want to pre-cut at 84 inches. The problem is it's not perfect. Sometimes it can be plus or minus a quarter. That's why I don't pre-cut. So if you just kind of think it through, because I think the roof is like 65 or 3 or something. So just measure it.
So they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, all 7 by 19. Well, it's 82 3/4 by 19. Nominal, it's 7. And I got to explain that too. I haven't shown you that yet. There are a couple things I need to show you. But the point is, you need to take this plastic coating off
Right.
before you mount it.
Right. Or you're not going to get it off.
No, you won't.
Well,
Leave,
you get most of it off.
Most of it.
Mix between the stuff.
Right.
Leave-
the outside
leave
on.
the UV side on the outside. Leave that on until you're done. You can rip it off and peel it around your washers. If you don't do that, what happens is when you're moving the ladder and moving all over, especially on the roof, you'll scratch it up.
Yeah.
So just leave it on until you're done. It doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
And I got to show you something I totally forgot. But yeah, on the edge, you're actually going to be, so let's say there's your metal. Let's use a real piece of metal. You'll frame it up first, so it's going to be obvious. It'll be absolutely obvious. So just trust me, it'll all make sense. But when you're doing your metal, you're going to be about there, okay? With your polycarbonate. My fingers are polycarbonate. And this is where the trim comes into play.
So we have an outside corner trim.
Yep, you do.
Okay.
So you have some really nice galvanized trim over here. It makes it look really good, heavy-duty trim. And
The outside
yep.
corner.
So this is what you're going to do to hide any gap.
Right.
So let's say your polycarbonate has a gap like that.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And this is your gable. I'll show that to you next. I got to show that to you. And I want to be clear. This is your gable too. So after this is up,
Right.
this is going to go, you know, like that.
And then your polycarbonate sits over the top.
No, it's,
Underneath
yeah.
it.
This is on the outside of your polycarbonate.
So that's gonna overlay.
Yep. This is the finished trim. So if
Okay.
everything else is done, this will go. And you'll probably have an inch or two of polycarbonate sticking out. So you'll just kind of follow it down like that, and it'll make it look really good when you're all done.
Normally you'd have your eave trim, which that is when your roofing overhangs the edge of your roof so that the water runs and falls on the ground, doesn't run down the side of your roof.
Yeah, for a greenhouse, it doesn't matter. So this will be fine because you'll have your J channel on the eaves. The J channel will actually close in with a little dab of caulk. And so it's almost easier if I got a panel out. It's just too much work. But let's just picture this greenhouse. Yeah, you have the
Here's your
eave.
gable. This is gonna run up your gable,
Yes, up the gable. No, not the gable. That is not the gable. This.
just down your sidewalk.
Yeah, the gable side, you're going to use that for your gable. So on your sidewall, let's picture the greenhouse going in the 20-foot direction here. Okay. So I'm going to, you don't have to do this, but you're going to slide it right up there like that, and then put some caulk in there to seal it all up, and then maybe a couple screws to hold it. So this is what the profile of your
So
eaves
this
look
is
like.
the edge of your roof?
This is your eave right here.
Okay, so that's your eave trim and the stuff just runs into the J
Yep.
channel and comes out of it.
Yep, and just find a place to put a screw here or there. Now you might have to go down at the bottom polycarbonate. Now the bottom polycarbonate, it's going to come up like this. You're going to cut it section vertically.
Hey,
Run your channels in the direction of gravity. So the channels go in the 19-foot direction. You want those to go in the direction of gravity to drop condensation. So yeah, so you have enough trim. You can put it up. Flip this around. So let's say your sidewall's like this. You can put that up there. The eave that sticks out, you can put some up there. Yep, and then just a little bit of caulking and it all look good. Yep. But yeah, just so make sure that goes on the east side. Here, yep, that's the gable trim. And I gotta show you this. So the way this is set up here, let's just pretend for a sec that let's do this. Make this. I'm going to actually lay it out as though it actually is all built. Okay?
that's a sidewall.
Yeah, we're looking at a sidewall right now, and even though this is the opposite, we're just going to pretend like it's the wall.
Right.
Okay. And let me get one more. Did I do that one wrong? No.
No, it's,
You following it? Because I'm not.
So you get the gist, right? It keeps on going.
that's a sidewall.
Yep, sidewall. We're just pretending here.
Right.
So you get the gist, right?
Yep.
Okay,
That's a
this,
sidewall.
yep, this, what you're gonna do here, probably to make the orientation look good here, I'll just do that. So what you're gonna do is this is the female part of your two-part butt joint, okay? You don't need that on this end. Let's say this is your gable end, okay?
Right.
Okay, so the polycarbonate's gonna be like here. You're gonna come over to here.
Right.
Okay, so what you'll do is you'll screw this in, and you might have to move it a little bit, plus and minus a little bit on the center to get everything just right. But So it goes down.
Right there.
Yep, so you screw it down right in the middle. Try to get as close to the middle as you can.
So we're not putting on a full sheet down the side.
No, oh no, you got to go vertical.
Right.
Yeah, well, what I mean
Okay,
by that,
so, right, so
Yep.
the little lines
Yep.
in the stuff are running
Yep.
vertical, not horizontal.
and this is the width of your polycarbonate.
Right.
So this is why I said you're probably going to end up cutting about 84. That's about what it is. Probably want a little bevel to, depend on how close, precise you want to be. So cut this. It does not have to go to the top. You can cut this short. Okay, and then what you have is over here.
Got a nail that goes over
Yep.
the top.
You got it's a snap. It's called aluminum snap, and it's ribbed.
Yep.
So this is the male part. And I'm going to come right over here. The
So
one
polycarbonate's gonna go, so this is designed to be the width of the.
Yep, correct.
Right.
Yep. And you probably get like
Once you've
a.
got it all screwed on, then you just cut that and pop it in.
You got it. You got it. So just put it in, place it where you want it. Your eave comes down, and a little bit of caulking, make it all sealed, and it's going to be beautiful. Good job.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is because it's simple. Once you have that.